So, continuing the first lecture, we were talking about the example of tannery industry, in which chromium is the major source of contamination, and which is being used as an raw material, as an input material, and then it is consumed, used within the production process, and then it is being released along with the wastewater. So there is a possibility of changing the chromium with some other alternative approach, as well as the second option is that we can get it recovered in the waste and from the wastewater. So that recovery will help in reusing that chromium as an input material. So overall, we are planning to reduce the pollution load into the systems. So methodology is barriers to CP implementation, or some internal barriers. Then we have external barriers, and then how this CP cleaner production methodology is to be implemented. So the recognized need for the cleaner production normally will lead to the four phases: planning and organization, assessment, feasibility analysis, and implementation. And then um, uh, there is another option that is called uh, like closed loop, and in which the environmental management system will be playing its role to continuously revise the objectives. So we will continuously keep on improving the system, because there is no end to the improvement. There is always a loop, there is always a space in which we need to modify. So in our first loop, there will be some improvement, and then there will be some recovery, and then further investigations will be directed, and maybe we can get some directions from the previous findings as well, so that we can improve the previously prepared design, and then we improve that design, and next time we get a better result with more reduction in the pollution. So this is a continuous loop, which is in the form of EMS and sustainability. So reduce the use of raw materials, produce less waste, and achieve increased efficiency. This is the summary of our talk so far. Whatsoever we have talked, it is the conclusion that we need to reduce the raw material, and once we reduce the raw material, actually we are reducing the load, and produce less waste. This will be the consequence, this will be the result of the uh, first step, and then it will lead to the increased efficiency. So all these things are interconnected. So I think you can go through these slides by yourself. These are just the application what we have talked already. So these are the principles of cleaner production. How we are going to implement precautions principle, some measures must adopt, preventive principles, and integration principles. So when we talk about precaution principles, we talk about the toxic chemicals and their usage, how we can focus on this principle. Secondly, preventive principle, how we can reduce the load, how we can improve the efficiency, how we can improve the how we can reduce the dependency upon the energy resources from the external sources. And thirdly, integration principle. Everything is interconnected. We just saw in the previous slides, all the processes are interlinked. So uh, if we have a better raw material, we are going to get much lesser waste. So this is kind of integration. The processes are integrated, our targets are integrated, our objectives are integrated. So we once we control one aspect, it means it is going to have an impact in third and fourth and fifth step as well, so that impact will last longer. So there are some of the practices which are also a part of sustainability, and if these things are managed properly, it will enhance the sustainability. So I think good housekeeping, and then input substitutions, better process control, equipment modifications, technology change, on-site recovery and reuse, production of a useful byproduct, production modification. So all these things we have already talked about. So what is not CP? So what thing we must exclude from the concept of cleaner production, and that is off-site recycling, transferring hazardous waste, waste treatment, concentrating hazardous or toxic constituents to reduce volume, diluting constituents to reduce hazard or toxicity. So, what is offsite recycling? This is the recycling which is not done on the site, on within the industry. If it is being done at a place, which is like some recycling facility, it is not going to help that industry. So, it is not a CP approach. So, if we are transferring our hazardous waste from one place to the other, it is not a CP technique. We want to reduce the movement of contaminant. So, then waste treatment itself, we must reduce the waste in such a manner that there is a zero effluent. So, that zero effluent concept is actually the cleaner production concept. But if we are bound to conduct a treatment, then it means that the processes need to be revisited. We need to improve our processes. So those processes can only be improved by the um, this by adopting cleaner production, concentrating hazardous or toxic constituents to reduce volume. So it is another activity which is going to enhance the concentration level. So diluting constituents to reduce hazard or toxicity, it is again not required to conduct CP, cleaner production. So basically, cleaner production success is a team approach. It is not one man's duty or skilled duty. It is a, teamwork, and all the sections, all the departments of an industry or an organization must work together to achieve these targets. I think this is kind of a repetition. You have already studied it. Planning and organization, assessments, material and energy balance. So this concept we will talk about it later, but just for your information, that we need to establish a system. We need to establish a model in which we can measure the incoming material in the form of raw materials, then how much material is being used, in the industrial process. What are the requirements? Like what are the other input materials, like heat, like electricity, like power, and what we are actually uh, disposing as a waste. It can be heat, it can be, sorry, cooling, or it can be uh, some of the waste as well, like hot water is being released in some cases, like if we talk about some cooling unit. So there are so many processes going on in the industry, and everything must have a recycling system within itself. And then in the end product we will be getting the products, and then the waste. All these things will be uh, obtained as an output. So we must quantify everything. So we must see what material is entering, how it is behaving, how much consumed, how much converted to the product, how much converted to the byproduct, how much being wasted. So we must quantify. So this is called the material and energy balance. So this is the general formula for it. So the importance is related with the management of its financial matters. We need to understand the cost of the raw material in the waste, cost of the final product in the waste, cost of energy losses, cost of handling waste, cost of transporting waste. All these things can be included in our benefits. So these are the processes, and how the process is producing waste, it is also shown here. Option generation, and then so it shows that what are the possibilities if we change any one component in the uh, in any stage. So we can further investigate, and then we can quantify the payback periods and how we are going to implement it, and then the continuous CP loop. So these are the regulation. How can government promote CP? It can be also be, you can study here. So basically we have already gone through all the basic concepts, and now I will just request you to explore some of the cleaner production methods which are being implemented, like case studies. And in our next lecture, we will try to focus on the sustainability. Why we call cleaner production a sustainable process. And one more important thing, that cleaner production technique is not only for the industries. It can be implemented anywhere. It can be implemented in our organizations, in our institutions, in our markets. So everything we can follow this plan of CP at any place, and we can achieve the our target of sustainable development. So again, and what is the sustainable development? It is to uh, uh, and, uh, to keep our natural systems preserved, and without any natural exploitation, we conduct an economic uh, development and economic activity. So this was all about today's lecture. I will request you to go through these slides, and so these two videos are for today's lecture. Please go through them, and in the next lecture we will focus on the sustainable development and cleaner production techniques. Thank you very much.